You just met someone new. They're charming, exciting, a little unpredictable. And something in your gut says this feels familiar. And it does feel familiar because you've been here before. Different face. Same pain. Here's what nobody tells you. Your brain isn't broken. It's doing exactly what it was trained to do. The problem is, it was trained by people who hurt you. And today we're going to talk about why, and more importantly, how to finally stop the cycle. Most people think attraction is random. You meet someone, sparks fly, and that's that. But psychologists have known for decades that attraction is not random. It's a pattern. And that pattern was written into you before you were old enough to understand what love even was. Here's the concept. Imprinting. When you were a child, your brain was building a map. A map of what love looks, feels, and sounds like based on the people closest to you. And that map didn't just record the good stuff. It recorded the tension, the withdrawal, the hot and cold, the moments you had to earn affection. Your nervous system filed all of that under, this is what love feels like. So when you grow up and meet someone who gives you that same feeling, that anxious excitement, that longing, that need to prove yourself, your brain doesn't say danger. It says home. That's why the person who treats you inconsistently can feel more magnetic than someone who's steady and kind. Steadiness doesn't match the map. Chaos does. There's a psychological principle called the mere exposure effect. The more familiar something is, the more we tend to prefer it, even when it's not good for us. But in relationships, this goes even deeper. Researchers who study attachment theory found that people with anxious or avoidant attachment styles that usually develop from inconsistent caregiving in childhood, tend to unconsciously recreate those same relationship dynamics in adulthood. It's not because they enjoy pain. It's because familiarity feels like safety, even when it isn't. Your brain runs on prediction. It would rather be in a painful situation it can predict than a healthy situation it doesn't understand. Because the unknown, even if it's good, triggers anxiety. And anxiety feels like a warning. So your brain talks you out of the stable, loving person, they're too nice, something must be wrong with them, and pulls you toward the one who keeps you guessing. Here's where it gets really uncomfortable. The push-pull dynamic in toxic relationships doesn't just feel familiar. It's chemically addictive. When someone is inconsistent with you, loving one day, distant the next, your brain starts releasing dopamine not when they show up, but in anticipation of them showing up. This is the same neural pathway that drives gambling addiction. The unpredictability doesn't turn you off. It locks you in. Neuroscientists call this intermittent reinforcement. And it is, by every measurable standard, one of the most powerful behavioral conditioning mechanisms in existence. When someone is consistently kind, your brain adapts. The dopamine levels out. It feels comfortable but not urgent. When someone is unpredictable, your brain is constantly scanning, waiting, hoping. And every time they come back, after the silence, after the coldness, it feels like relief so intense it reads as love. That's not love. That's your nervous system trying to survive. Most people in this cycle aren't weak. They're not naive. They're not choosing pain because they don't value themselves. They're choosing it because somewhere along the way they absorbed a belief, a quiet, deep belief, that love is something you have to work for. That they're only worth staying for if they're perfect, patient, endlessly understanding. Psychologists call these core wounds. And the most common ones are, I'm not enough. So you stay trying to prove that you are. I'll be abandoned. So you tolerate things you shouldn't, because leaving first feels worse than being left. Love has to hurt a little to be real. So calm relationships feel fake and you sabotage them. These beliefs don't live in your conscious mind. They live in your body, in how your chest tightens when someone pulls away, in how quickly you apologize even when you're not wrong, in how much mental energy you give to people who give you almost nothing back. So what do you do with all of this? You don't just decide to choose better. That's not how it works. You've probably already tried that. The real shift happens when you start building awareness before action. Step 1 is noticing the feeling, not following it. When you meet someone and feel that intense pull, that magnetic, anxious, I need to know if they like me feeling, that's not a green light. That's data. It means something in them is matching something old in you. Pause. Get curious. Don't run toward it before you understand it. Step 2 is learning what calm feels like. If security has always felt boring, you need to retrain what good feels like. This takes time. Therapy helps. Journaling helps. So does consciously spending time with people. Friends, family, anyone who show up consistently. You're rebuilding the map. Step 3 is grieving what you never got. A lot of this cycle is fueled by unprocessed grief. The love you didn't get as a kid. The parent who was emotionally unavailable. The relationship that shaped your nervous system before you had any say in it. You don't have to keep chasing that in the people you date. You're allowed to acknowledge the loss and stop trying to heal it with the wrong person. You were never choosing pain because something is wrong with you. You were following a map that was drawn before you knew any better. The people who hurt you didn't break you, but they did leave a blueprint, and your brain has been following it ever since, thinking it was the only way home. It's not. You get to draw a new map, and every time you catch yourself chasing the familiar ache, every time you pause and ask, wait, why does this feel so urgent? That's you changing the blueprint. That's not a small thing. That's everything. If this hit something real for you, if you recognized yourself somewhere in there, you're not alone and you're not stuck. We make videos like this every week. Not to diagnose you, but to hand you the kind of insight that actually helps. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And if you know someone who keeps ending up in the same kinds of relationships, share this with them. Sometimes the most useful thing you can do for someone is show them they're not crazy. They're just following an old map.